Hey everybody, welcome back to Book of Lying. This time we're going to be walking through something that happens in a lot of adventure maps and a lot of special servers, including Spring Realms, but which might be a little bit impenetrable for people who are less versed in the use of commands, in stringing them together, and using command blocks. But hopefully, after you've watched the previous video, you understand at least the command block section a bit better, and that'll make this all the easier. What we are doing today is that we are doing custom crafting using in-world items. Now, again, looking at this, it might seem a little bit much, but I promise you we're going to walk through this in sort of traffic light fashion and you should hopefully understand it a bit easier. So we're going to start off with something very simple. What we're going to be doing is using 4 sand and 5 gunpowder and 1 string. We are going to make a single block of TNT. This highlight the first advantage of doing this, which is that you don't actually have to follow the in-game recipes. String does not appear in the TNT recipe. And that then tells you that, oh hey, you can make anything from anything, which pretty powerful for adventure maps. But anyways, so if I toss out my 5 gunpowder, we see nothing's happening just yet. If I hit that, it's been highlighted. If I toss out 4 sand, and then ignite the next one. Yep, good. And 1 string. So we now got our red, yellow, and green, and then we do our last step, and there we go. 1 piece of TNT. Very straightforward. How did I do it? So, if we look over here, scoreboard players tag type item, add item 1. In theory, you can use non-item entities, because either way you have to kill them at the end to clear and reset everything. But items are the ones that we're particularly interested in right now because we're doing custom crafting. But we add the tag of item 1. Straightforward, but we limited it precisionally to gunpowder of a stack size of 5. Remember that B or this will not work, that's just the way these tags work. And now it's worth noting, stack size in an item can change, so you could add more items. If it's stood on top of a hopper or something else, it can lose items. So currently with this particular system, once it hits 5, it is tagged forever until it gets picked up and dropped down again when it gets recreated in that fashion. What you could do at the end of this is, regardless of the outcome, so basically just at the top of here when you're cleaning up, you can just remove the tags from everything else. And that will mean that it has to be at 5, it has to be at 4, it has to be at 1. But for now, we're not really too terribly fussed about that. So, once we've got an item 1, we do the same again for sand, stack size of 4 for item 2. And then string, stack size of 1, item 3. Straightforward. Now what you can also do is string these together, so you have to have item 1 to do item 2 or 3, that kind of thing, which means none of this happens until the entire cycle is complete. But once we've gotten all 3 of those, we then try to execute from item 1 to item 2, if it's close enough, and only one of them, to item 3, again, only close enough, only one of them, and then when that happens, we add to any one of them, but I usually go with item 1, we add a new tag that just says do craft, indicating that we now have our green signal to go through and do all of the fancy stuff. Okay. So then we firstly clear up the other items, so we get rid of item 2, we get rid of item 3, and then we use entity data on our final item to clear off the tags with tags brackets, just there, closed, easy. And then we change the actual item value inside of it. This is a compound tag, which means it's a big bulk of other data that is usually used by something else. So for example, it's used in banners to determine what they look like, it's used in armor and stuff to determine if a piece of helmet, for example, that a skeleton's wearing is enchanted, that kind of thing. But it basically allows us to, in this case, change the stack size down to 1 and change the item itself. You can't, it is worth noting with entities, change what type of entity it is. So this is always an item entity, we can't alter that, but we can change what's inside of it. So that then, combined entire, becomes this big long thing, which, as we saw in our last video, doesn't have to be a full pole, but yeah, it works okay for this. So now that we've got that turned on, we can get our pieces into place. And then, at last, create our piece of shoddy dynamite, complete with the particle effect and the sound, which is these 2 blocks here. Everything else here is right down here, nothing has really changed there, so it's all the things that we just walked through and understood. Now, I've talked a little bit about why you might want to do this. As you can see here, we can change the title, we can change the lore, everything, very cool. But there is a few practical examples over here. So the one that is very obvious for Spring Realms, that everyone has been clamoring to reach the entire time that we've been going through the dungeons, is to get access to an item called the Corporeal Star, which has the very special effect in Spring Realms of changing spirit players into survival mode forcibly once they get too close to it. Which is very handy for saving your spirit rather than being stuck in it for 5 hours, I think, as one particular player was at a point in time when they went boss grinding and got a ton of spirit. So, in that case, it's made from Dragon's Breath. Flip if I get my... There we go. It's made from a Neverstar, and it's made from one of the, one of the Ethereal Brews, but here it's just a Potion of Luck. So let's just power that. Neverstar, Potion of Luck, Dragon's Breath. And then they get the Corporeal Star, which has its own particle effects, has its own additional command blocks to control what it does, and we detect that using the tags and the lore text of the actual Corporeal Star, which is absent here, because this is just a straightforward thing. But you don't actually have to make this be purely for creating items, because you can use this end trigger here, this point where you have the do craft item. You can use that to do anything. You could use that to change a scoreboard value. You could use that to teleport the players. You could use them to create various special magical effects, like spreading them or summoning lightning, that kind of thing. And that brings us to our third thing here, which is you could pretty much use this to summon a boss if you were so inclined. So, Blaze Rod, Billowstone Dust, Fire Charge, Little Inferno, to keep you warm. So, that is just a brief glimpse of the kind of stuff that you can achieve with systems like these, where you are just detecting a specific cluster of specific kinds of item. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed this new little tutorial, and as always, catch you all next time.